Welcome to Study Loop.
Here we can see an example of the supply curve being shifted to the right, which is illustrative of the cost of production going down. So we move from point A to point B to point C as our respective equilibriums. And during that time, what's happening to the price? Well, the price you can see is falling, and the quantity you can see is increasing. Okay, so now what about the consumer surplus and the producer surplus? Well, at first, the consumer surplus is to the left of the demand curve, to the right of the vertical axis, and it's everything above the price line at point A. As we move down, you can see that this consumer surplus continues to grow, and it is now everything above the line from point B, and then finally everything from the line at point C. Okay, so what about the producer surplus? Well, the producer surplus originally is also bounded by A. Let's get rid of the consumer surpluses for a second. So your producer surplus would be everything below line A to the right of the vertical axis and to the left of the initial supply curve. Then what happens? Then it grows. It grows to be everything below line B, and again to the right of the vertical axis and to the left of the second supply curve. And then finally, it's everything below line C, and again to the left of the third supply curve and to the right of the vertical axis. So we know for sure that the consumer surplus is continuing to grow over time. We're not sure if the producer surplus is growing or shrinking or staying the same. That's going to depend on the elasticity of supply and demand. So here's a case where the supply is very elastic. And what happens here? Well, our initial producer surplus is here. And our initial consumer surplus is here. So again, for consumer surplus, to the left of the demand curve, to the right of the vertical axis, and above the line formed from the price at equilibrium. The producer surplus is to the right of the vertical axis, to the left of the supply curve, and below the line formed by the price at equilibrium. Then what happens? Well, as we move from the higher price to the lower price, the consumer surplus is going to grow to this entire region. So it's everything above the new price level. All right. The producer surplus, on the other hand, is down here, everything below the price level. So again, it's not entirely sure if the producer surplus has grown all that much, but what we can tell is that consumers have clearly benefited the most from this change.